With going to the gym and using weights, tracking your progress is a lot easier, considering that you only have to move up in weight or just move down in weight. But with calisthenics and bodyweight training, this is a little bit harder, and you need to have some element of creativity in your training along with the correct strategy in order to see sufficient progress. For some people, calisthenics can be very confusing because there's not really a clear way to go, and everyone progresses at a different pace. So that is why I'm making this video for you guys, to simplify everything, making you progress fast in calisthenics, but also skipping all the guesswork. So let's get straight into it. All right, guys, so the first thing that we need to be utilizing is eccentrics. So what do I mean by eccentrics? So pretty much doing the reverse of a movement in order to unlock the full movement. So you can pretty much do this for any exercise, whether that's doing dips and coming down as slow as possible on the dip in order to get the full dip in the future. Or you guys can do this with pull-ups as well, doing it with a band or just doing it with your body weight, coming down as slow as you possibly can, starting at the top of the pull-up bar and descending very, very slow. And you can also do this with more advanced movements such as the planche, starting in a handstand, coming down into the planche. And this is going to really help, through my experience anyway, in learning the planche. So you guys should definitely take this on board if you're trying to learn the planche, which is, you know, quite an advanced skill. So maybe not a lot of you guys will be at that point, but if you are, then taking advantage of negatives, even when it comes to the advanced skill like the planche, is definitely valuable, and you guys should definitely be doing it. But that just goes to show, guys, that even when you get to an advanced level in calisthenics, negatives are still going to be useful. Even when it comes to things like the front lever 2 and the planche, like I just said, you're still going to be utilizing negatives. And so getting used to doing negatives now is what you should do. Don't think that you're going a step back when learning a negative. Even though negatives might feel like you're not doing much, you're actually doing so much, and you're also learning how your body is going to work. So therefore, when you do get to the intermediate and advanced levels, you're going to understand exactly what you should be doing in a negative in order to get the full skill or the full movement. So don't sleep on this, guys. It's also a known fact as well that in a negative and, you know, in a reverse movement, you're actually 120% stronger. So even when it comes to doing like the push-up, for instance, you're going to be way stronger controlling the movement on the way down than when you are pushing up in every single movement that goes for, not just the push-up, but that is one example. Just think of an eccentric like an easier progression of an exercise, and you can also do drop sets where you try to do the exercise you're trying to achieve. Or even if you just can't do that many reps, do it first, try it out, try and do a few reps, and then as soon as you can't do any more reps, go into a negative, and that would be a good drop set to do in order to try and train your body and your muscles to learn the full movement of anything you're training. So I briefly mentioned it just then, but the next thing we need to talk about is progressions. So eccentrics and now progressions. Progressions kind of fall under eccentrics a little bit, like I just said. However, it's not exactly the same. So in progressions, you're changing the exercise difficulty by either changing the lever or the position of your body. So by lever, I'm talking about how low or how high your body is, and also maybe how extended your body is in a movement. When it comes to things like the front lever, the back lever, the planche, and even many other skills like beginner skills, the elbow lever, for instance, you can try out all these different progressions, and pretty much all these skills would start with a tuck progression, then an advanced tuck progression, sometimes a half leg progression, a one leg progression, a straddle progression, and then obviously the full movement of whatever skill you're trying to unlock. So think about this for pretty much every skill you do in calisthenics. You need to understand which levers there are and which one that you're currently at. And then from there, you can learn to progress in whatever skill you're trying to learn by trying to reach the next progression, increasing your time or your reps, whatever it is. But progressions don't always have to be levers. They can also just be a completely different exercise, but kind of in the same family. Such as maybe you're doing archer push-ups instead of doing normal push-ups in order to get to the one-arm push-up. So you guys can start off literally by doing the push-up, then going to the archer push-up, and that's a progression in order to learn the one-arm push-up. Same thing goes with the pull-ups. If you guys are trying to learn a one-arm pull-up, you guys can start off by trying to learn the commando pull-ups, which is going to help you distribute weight onto each side of your body and each side of your arm. Then you guys can work towards doing typewriter pull-ups, archer pull-ups, and then eventually you guys can utilize a resistance band, using that as a progression to learn the one arm pull-up, the full one arm pull-up. And speaking of equipment, speaking of resistance bands, this leads me on to my next point and the next thing you need to do in order to progress fast in calisthenics. Making use of equipment that is available to you. So some of you guys might not be able to use equipment for whatever reason. Maybe you just can't afford it, maybe your gym doesn't have it, and so it's not really completely necessary. However, it will make you progress a lot faster in calisthenics if you utilize it correctly. So there are loads of different pieces of equipment that can help you in calisthenics. The main ones that will help you the most are going to be your weight belt, your weighted vest if you even have one, and also resistance bands. Not all gyms have a weight vest, but most gyms will kind of have a weight belt or some sort of weight belt you can use. So look in your gym if you have one. If you don't go to the gym, if you do home workouts, then do not worry. And also, if you guys are looking for a weight vest that's going to be good quality and pretty affordable, then head to the link in my description because I do have links to weight vest and other pieces of equipment too, so check it out. And also use the code CRAY10 for a discount. Using extra weight in exercises such as pull-ups, for instance, is going to help you so much to increase your overall pull-up reps, and it's going to make you feel super light, which is exactly what we want in calisthenics, so that next time you do pull-ups, you're going to be flying off the bar. Hopefully not flying off the bar, hopefully you don't land on your head, but you know what I'm trying to say. Pull-ups are going to become easy, and every other exercise that you use the weight vest on or the weight belt, it's going to become a lot easier over time. I actually did an experiment pretty recently where I used my weight vest in pretty much every single workout that I did. It was only 10 kilograms. I tried doing the front lever with the weight vest for a few weeks. I tried doing pull-ups for a few weeks with the weight vest, push-ups, handstand push-ups, you name it. Also the planche too. And let me tell you, that was not easy. But after I used it, everything became a lot easier and I improved overall in my body weight, strength and training. So you guys need to use that if you want to progress fast in calisthenics. Weight belt, weight vest are pretty much cheat codes for calisthenics. But weight vests and weight belts can be a little expensive. And so I do have another option, which is a lot cheaper. So the other option is to use resistance bands. You can actually use resistance bands to not only help you, but to also make exercises harder and provide more resistance. So when it comes to things like push-ups, you guys can actually put a band on top of you. And I'm telling you guys now, it is not easy doing push-ups with a band, especially a thick band. So try it out and trust me, your push-ups are going to become a lot easier when you don't use a band. So there are still ways that you can use a resistance band to actually increase the difficulty of an exercise and progress a lot faster in calisthenics. So do not think that you need a weight vest, you need a weight belt. Would it be helpful? Absolutely. You guys would benefit incredibly from using a weight belt and a weight vest. But you guys can also go for the cheaper option and use resistance bands for this as well and just be creative. You can use the resistance bands to make exercises harder, and you can use resistance bands to make exercises easier. As I showed you guys in the one arm pull-up practice, when you're using a band to make the exercise a little bit easier, you can also do this with every single exercise in calisthenics, even when it comes to the planche. So you guys can even put a band under your body to support some of your weight for the planche, taking off some of your body weight, making the planche easier, and eventually you guys can go through the thicknesses of the band, starting at the thickest band, which is the most resistance, helping you the most, and then you guys can go to the thinnest band over time, and eventually, hopefully, no band. Same thing with the pull-ups. You guys can move through the band thicknesses, starting with the thickest band you can find or the thickest band you have, and then you can eventually go to the thinnest band and then eventually do pull-ups with no assistance, and it will become a lot easier for you. The only thing I would say with the bands is to make sure you're not bouncing from the band, because this is not going to help you achieve the full movement. You still want to control the movement, coming down as slow as possible, controlling absolutely every muscle that you're using, because this is going to simulate the actual exercise that you're going to do and eventually be able to get a lot better. And the very last thing I've talked about at certain points in this video, but it's going to be unilateral training. So I've already talked about the one arm push-up, the one arm pull-up, and there's a reason why I've mentioned that, and that is because unilateral training, so training one side at a time, is going to be so beneficial when you combine those two sides together in order to increase your overall strength with both sides of your body. And if you guys can't quite do things like the one arm pull up or the one arm push up, then you guys can still be creative and try to use unilateral exercises that are a little bit easier and less advanced, so you guys can actually still get the benefits. You guys can still do rows with one arm instead of two once two arms become easy, and that's going to prepare you pretty well for doing one arm pull-ups eventually, because you guys are already going to be pretty strong in either side of your arm. And even when it comes to your pushing movements and push-ups, you guys can utilize not only eccentrics but also unilateral movements simultaneously, doing negative one arm push-ups, and that is going to blow up your strength, trust me. But anyway, that is it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope that you learned something. Hopefully you incorporate all these different methods that I've told you about today in your training, because this is really what's going to get you to the next level. And so hopefully you took it all in. If you didn't, go back, rewatch the video, and make sure you write notes on everything I've just said, because I use this in my daily training. Every single thing that I do, whether it's learning the planche, whether it's improving my planche time, my hold time, I'm still doing things like negatives and still doing things with the resistance band in order to not only improve my hold time and improve my form, but also just to improve my overall strength levels. So guys, it's important, even when you become an advanced athlete, you need to be utilizing all these things in order to become one. If you did like the video and you want more videos like this, then make sure to like, and also do not forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this and more content like this, because I'm always going to be here for you guys, making sure that you're always progressing in calisthenics, bodyweight exercise, improving your overall fitness journey, and hopefully we can grow to be one of the biggest channels on YouTube. Let's get it, guys. Love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.